So this is the vitrectomy for combined hamartoma of retina and RPE. I will show in total 3 surgeries, 3 vitrectomies. This is the first vitrectomy. So this is a 9-year-old male patient, a boy, with a combined hamartoma of retina and RPE. Angiography and optophotography show also a vasoproliferative tumor in the temporal periphery. I start the surgery with a core vitrectomy and then opening of the posterior hyaloid. I'm using 27 gauge as usual for pediatric vitrectomy. The next step is dissection of the membrane with a 27 gauge membrane pick from Dork. This is a very convenient instrument because it is so small that you can easily enter the space between the membrane and the retina. And it is very simple to dissect membranes from the underlying retina. This is a membrane pick from the company Dork. So this patient had a visual acuity of 1.0 1 year before the surgery, and the visual acuity is now 0.05. So a sharp reduction of visual acuity. And the diagnosis is a unilateral combined hamartoma of retina and RPE. Now I'm using a 27 gauge ultra peel forceps from Dork, and I'm removing this membrane. I will not succeed with the complete removal because it's so tightly attached to the underlying tissue, but I will be able to remove the complete membrane in the second vitrectomy. So now I trim this membrane, this tissue, as much as possible with the 27 gauge vitreous cutter, which is again very convenient for trimming because you can work very close to the retina. So I'm trimming this tissue. This is a cutter from the Nexus machine, vitrectomy machine from Dork. The next step is a laser photocoagulation. Please observe in angiography the ischemia in the temporal pole. So I perform laser coagulation of this ischemic area in the temporal periphery. And 3 months follow-up show a recurrence of the membrane. You see the laser spots, and a new membrane has formed on the posterior pole. It looks quite severe, and we even have here a Silverstone Optus OCT. You see the thickness of this membrane, and a second vitrectomy is performed, but there is no video available for this vitrectomy. But I can report that I was able to remove the membrane completely, and I added some more laser on the nasal pole. Now comes the 3 months follow-up after the second vitrectomy. And as you can see in this photograph, there's a new recurrence of this membrane, not as severe as before, but it is a very clear recurrence. So I perform a third vitrectomy 5 months after the second. So This is again a 27 gauge vitrectomy. You see these Schlieren inside the vitreous body. I'm performing first a fluid against air exchange. I will soon tell you why. Then I drop a few drops of dye into this air-filled body, and this gives a concentrated staining of the dye on the retina. Then I remove the dye with the fluid needle and switch back to BSS. Now I start to remove this tissue. I'm using again the membrane pick from Dork. So you see it's easy to dissect the membrane with this instrument, a 27 gauge membrane pick from Dork. And it is similar to the first vitrectomy, but again a membrane has formed, and this is the third surgery. So due to the third recurrence, I decided to perform an extra procedure in this one, which will be a PRP, 360 degrees, and a cryopexy of the vasoproliferative tumor, because I assume that the ischemia in the retina and the tumor are the cause for the constant recurrences in this eye. This is a 27 gauge ultra-peel forceps. The membrane is now completely removed. Here's some tissue left. And even here in the temporal periphery, there is some adherent posterior hyaloid. Now I remove the membrane with a 27 gauge cutter. 500 cuts per minute are the settings. Here you see some more residual posterior hyaloid, which in the follow-up, because there was a vitreous bleed, there was the suspicion of a retinal detachment. But as you can see, it was only posterior hyaloid attached to the retina. So this is a third surgery, and still you have partially attached posterior hyaloid. Please observe here the tumor in the temporal pole. You see the hemorrhage indicating an activity. So now I perform the PRP, a complete laser photocoagulation of the retina. And then I will add a cryopexy. I will perform 3 times 20 to 30 seconds cryopexy of the tumor. 3 times means I freeze it for 20 to 30 seconds. Then I stop, wait for the thawing, and repeat the procedure for the same time, 20 to 30 seconds. I stop, and then the third time, 20 to 30 seconds. Then I and surgery with a fluid against air exchange. And also I add also Lucentis 0.1 milliliter into the eye. Now we have a 3-month follow-up, and I can really say now that there is no recurrence. I'm waiting for the 6 months follow-up. You see the retina is clean now, and I hope it will stay like this. Thank you very much.